Hello, I'm Dr. Sam and this is Dr. Sam's Health. And today we have a very special topic. The carnivore diet. Earlier this week I was talking about my New Year's resolutions, and one of them was to make a series of videos on different diets with a good scientific review of them. I must confess that I'm not really prepared to do a good comprehensive review of the science related to the carnivore diet, but at the same time this diet is so popular that I feel compelled to speak about it. In any case, we don't really have any good clinical research on the carnivore diet specifically. By that I mean that we don't have some randomized controlled trials that would involve number of participants that would be following the carnivore diet, and we would compare these people to those who are following some other diets. So in the absence of such research, all I can offer is some educated opinion based on my personal experiences, my expertise, and my knowledge of physiology, biochemistry, and nutritional research literature in general. I would like to start my today's discourse with the acknowledgement of my personal bias. Specifically, I would like to admit that I'm quite biased towards the carnivore diet because I've been a big proponent of low carbohydrate living since I think 2002-2003. When I first discovered the Atkins diet, and I was really fascinated with the fact that it looked like glucose and carbohydrates in general are responsible for so many pathological processes in our bodies, and they're responsible for multiple negative outcomes in healthcare. I've tried Atkins and other low-carb approaches in the past 15-16 years. I see their results, and quite frankly, one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel was the fact that I was really tired of convincing people of the advantages of such approach. Given that, it's actually very difficult for me to perceive the carnivore diet as something brand new. What I mean by that is the fact that the carnivore diet does not really differ substantially from the regular low-carbohydrate diet. Let's take the Atkins diet, for example. The idea is that you would be consuming minimal amount of carbohydrates, preferably less than 20 grams per day. That is the amount that is necessary to maintain ketosis, to ensure that your body is effectively burning fat primarily as a fuel, and that you are losing weight, or you're pretty much running on ketones and are in ketosis, which effectively means that less than 4% of your caloric intake, if your total daily expenditure is the average standard 2000 kilocalories per day, your intake from carbs will be less than 4%. So if we were to switch from a low carbohydrate diet, when someone consumes less than 20 grams of carbs per day, to the carnivore diet, effectively for this person the switch would be pretty much negligible. If I use myself as an example, what I would normally eat on a daily basis would be some meat. It can be chicken, beef, pork, whatever, fish, and some minimal amount of non-starchy vegetables. Usually it's either lettuce or asparagus or cauliflower, something like that. So all I have to do is just remove these vegetables, and that would make pretty much no difference in terms of caloric intake and in terms of nutrient intake for me. Definitely this difference, this transition is not substantial enough to call this some sort of a revolutionary approach. At the same time, a lot of people are making some sort of fantastic claims about this diet, and I would like to go over some of them. The very first and the most ridiculous claim that I've heard related to the carnivore diet is the fact that a lot of people believe that we should exclude carbohydrates and all plant-based foods from our diet because effectively plants are trying to poison us. Well, to be absolutely honest, as a physician, I know for sure that some plants, actually many plants, have some toxins in them. This is absolutely true. Best example, tobacco. Tobacco plant has nicotine in it, which is a natural insecticide. That is the natural toxin that the tobacco plant uses to kill insects that are trying to eat this plant. Obviously, there are other toxic plants. We use some of them as stimulants. For example, coca leaves, they have cocaine, which is a natural anesthetic and a stimulant. There are also plants that have other toxins that we can use as medications. Maybe you have heard about the digoxin, for example, and some others. At the same time, not every plant is toxic, and there are quite a few plants that are not toxic at all. At the same time, not only plants are toxic, there are quite a few toxic or poisonous animals. We have all heard about the venomous snakes, poisonous or toxic frogs, about the puffer fish, some insects, and so on and so on and so on. We've got scorpions, spiders, and so on. So in general, it wouldn't be fair to label plants as something inherently toxic or poisonous, because there are some plants that are poisonous and there are some animals that are poisonous or venomous. In addition to that, I would like to ask those who really believe that plants are toxic, I would like to ask you a question. How do herbivores deal with these toxic plants? If all plants are toxic, how do, say, cows survive? Are they completely poisoned all the time? I bet the answer would be they have evolved to process this kind of food. Fair enough, but why do you believe that herbivores have evolved and us, and I believe that we are omnivores, have not evolved to process this kind of foods? I think it's kind of obvious that throughout the millions of years of our evolution, we have evolved to consume all kinds of different nutrients, plant-based and animal-based, and we have developed specific enzymes to neutralize certain toxins. We have developed specific enzymes to break down proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and so on to their constituents, and to absorb them and process them, incorporate them into our own bodies and into our own function and metabolism in general. I think that the discussion of this claim wouldn't be complete without mentioning one specific fact. There are quite a few plants that are relying on us eating them. Good example would be berries. Effectively, berries are seeds of these plants wrapped in nice, attractive, appealing form of something full of nutrients, something that we can consume, but we cannot process the seeds. And effectively, we would pick some berries somewhere, eat them, and then we would plant them with our feces somewhere else. That would be the an important part of the life cycle of these plants. So to sum it up, first, not all plants are toxic. Second, as omnivores, and I believe that we are omnivores, we have evolved to consume different plants and to process certain nutrients and to process certain toxins in such a way that we effectively detoxify ourselves. Our livers have enough different enzymes called cytochromes that are specifically designed to deal with specific toxins. The next thing is not only we have evolved, but we have selected and modified the life cycles of many plants in such a way that agricultural cultures that we have right now are very, very different from whatever was in the field, in the forest, tens of thousands of years ago. Finally, there are plants that are relying on us eating them, rather than trying to poison us and protect themselves using some sort of a chemistry. So in general, I think that this particular claim is, to be honest, quite ridiculous, and it's not true. Okay, some other claims. Recently, I have heard a lot of people talking about the carnivore diet in the context of it being a cure for some autoimmune conditions, some inflammatory problems, metabolic issues, and so on, and so on, and so on. I would say that it makes sense because effectively the carnivore diet is an elimination diet. So what we're doing, instead of eliminating 1 or 2 or 3 nutrients or proteins or molecules from our diet, we're eliminating the whole spectrum of plant-based foods. And obviously, if someone is particularly sensitive or having some sort of negative reactions to specific foods, by eliminating whole group of foods, including the ones that the person is having reaction to, their condition is going to improve. So in the end of the day, we don't have to actually eliminate all kind of plant-based foods. All we have to do is just eliminating some specific foods that would help these people. And at the same time, I must admit that there might be some people who are sensitive to a whole spectrum of plant-based foods, and this diet would help them, but these people are relatively rare. So I'm not discrediting the positive effects of this diet for some specific people, but at the same time, I would be very cautious with endorsing complete elimination of all plant-based foods. Also, this claim is somehow related to this claim that people are feeling much better when they switch to full carnivore diet. I would say that I have heard it from anyone who would start vegan diet, vegetarian diet, low carbohydrate diet, Atkins diet, I don't know, potato diet, watermelon diet. Name a diet, name any nutritional approach. There will be plenty of people who would say, I started doing this and it completely changed my life. That might be a placebo effect. That might be some individual, specific, personal response to a specific diet. We will never be able to generalize the anecdotes without having a proper research done. And by proper research, I mean, if not a randomized controlled trial, sometimes it's difficult to do with diets because it's difficult to blind people in terms of the experimental and control condition. But at least a good prospective study would help. When we would take a relatively large group of people, preferably several hundred people, we would observe these people doing their regular thing for a certain period of time, couple of months, monitor their symptoms, their well-being, and so on and so on and so on. And then at a certain point, we would switch them all to the carnivore diet, and then we would see if everyone feels better or just select few ones, if their autoimmune markers go down or not. So that is the kind of research we need to actually say that this diet does help. Ideally, it would be a randomized controlled trial, but as I said, sometimes it's technically very difficult, something very difficult to do. Without this kind of research, the existing evidence doesn't stand any chance of proving anything. So we do have some people, not too many actually, who would say, I started the carnivore diet and I felt better, my autoimmune problems went away, my joints are not swollen anymore, I don't have any pain, and so on and so on. We don't know. We don't know whether it is the effect of the diet. We don't know whether it's the effect of the carnivore nature of this diet, or just the elimination diet, or reduced caloric intake, or any other factor that came along with the switch in nutrition. The last claim I would like to talk about is that it's a perfect diet for weight loss. And I would like to return to my original statement that I don't think that this diet is particularly different from a classic low carbohydrate diet. All we do is just we do not consume carbs at all. So if you are following a low carbohydrate diet, if you are taking it to the next level, make it the carnivore diet, you will change your metabolism and you will lose weight as long as this diet is hypocaloric, if you are in caloric deficit. And I said it many times before, and I feel I will say it multiple times in the future. If your diet is hypercaloric, if you're consuming more calories than you spend, your body will find a way to store this energy in the form of fat. If you are on a hypercaloric diet, if you're on caloric deficit, you will lose weight. And it doesn't have to be a carnivore diet. So that is pretty much it for today. I wanted to talk about different aspects of this diet. As I said, there is not much research supporting this diet as far as I know, but I will definitely look into this, and I promise you I'll make a good comprehensive review of the science related to this diet later this year. At the same time, I really wanted to go over certain claims that are made in relation to this diet, and I don't think that they are really substantiated. You don't have to be on the carnivore diet to benefit from low carb or low calorie effects of this diet. You don't have to be on the carnivore diet to deal with certain autoimmune problems. All you have to do is just to go on some sort of elimination diet. At the same time, I'm not particularly against it. I hope that you got the sense of it, that I've been a proponent of low carb living. Effectively, I've been doing the carnivore diet on quite a few occasions when I just would skip a portion of veggies here and there. I don't find it particularly different from the classic standard low carbohydrate diet. I'm just skeptical about all the hype related to this diet because I don't think it's like so much different from something that we had last year and the year before. Low carbohydrate diet, Atkins diet, ketogenic diet that already is like 100 years old, or paleo diet or something like that. Before I finish this video, I would like to ask you for a favor. If you are thinking about starting this diet or already started it, please write to me, make a comment maybe to this YouTube video, or shoot me an email. Describe your plan, your current situation, or the way you felt or were before you started this diet, and let me know what were your results. I would like to know more about personal experiences. Maybe if I have, I don't know, 100 people who would email me with this information, I would be able to compile all the results or experiences of these people, and I don't expect it to be a real research paper, but I could make some sort of a compilation of experiences and say, then like out of 100 people who emailed me or posted here, 30 people had good experience with this diet, 20 people had very bad experience, and 50 people didn't have any particular changes in their state or something like that. So I would like to be able to synthesize some knowledge based on your experiences. Okay, so that's definitely it for today now. As always, I would encourage you to like the video, subscribe to my channel, ask questions, make any kind of posts, criticize, argue. I'm always happy to interact with you. I'm always happy to see what is of interest to you. And as I requested, if you have any ideas about the carnivore diet, let me know. I would be very interested in hearing from you. Best of luck.